Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Credit Chat. I'm Rod Griffin, Director of Consumer Education and Advocacy for Experian. I try to be here every Tuesday and Thursday, 1:30 Central, 2:30 Eastern, to answer your questions about credit reporting, credit scoring, fraud and identity theft, all those kinds of things that are important. There's the FedEx guy and my dogs. That's the problem with a live broadcast. So we'll hold on for just a moment. Yeah, I have two little dogs that like to let us know when the doorbell rings, and it's still not quite past the holiday season apparently, and that's my wife's taking care of the door, so we're good. Sorry about that, but thanks for being here and being part of the Credit Chat. If it's your first time, I hope you have lots of questions. The whole idea is to have a conversation with you about credit reports and scores and the questions you have to help answer them for you. USS Russ, thanks for joining and being here. And if you have a question, I know that you're not the only one with that question, and there are others that will have them as well. Rebroker Regina, thanks for joining and being part of the chat today. So feel free to ask. Welcome to 2020. As with a lot of us, I think I have the same New Year's resolution. I'm 4 pounds down, a long ways to go after into the seventh day. So working on that. Ms. ED4, thanks for joining. So making progress. And 7 days in, that's not too bad. But again, ask questions. It's the only way we can answer them, the only way we can get to the issues that people have, and that's the whole idea, is to have a dialogue about what your concerns and issues are. Happy New Year, and I hope you're having a great start. I'm off to a wonderful start so far, so whole 7 days in. Donnie J69, thanks for joining. Sean Lambert, thanks for joining and being part of Periscope. We've been doing this. I've been doing this now for several years, and we always have great conversation. It's the start of another new year. Time to start making those resolutions. Time to start thinking about how you're going to manage your credit, your finances, what your financial goals are over the year. So hope you're all looking at that and that you'll make great progress and that we can share information that you can use to help make credit a financial tool and not have debt be a financial problem, big goal for all of us, and to help you have a more financially healthy 2020. So that's what I'm here to do. Feel free to ask any questions you have. We've just launched our State of Credit survey, and so just prior to the holiday break. So I'm glad to be back. I was here last Thursday, off to a good start, but second Periscope of the year. So really anxious to get started. We'll talk about the state of credit a little bit. If you don't all have lots of questions. Charge and then pay off. Yes, N3 WKB. If you make charges on your credit cards, it's best to pay them in full if you can. Paying the balance in full does not affect your credit scores except positively. So I heard and actually had a conversation with a journalist today who said they're so frustrated with the myth that you should carry a balance on a credit card to help your credit scores. And she was absolutely right. It's not true. You do not have to carry a balance to have good credit scores. The best thing you can do is pay them in full. The lower the balance, the better on your credit cards. The zeros, the best. You do need activity in an account. So it's good to use an account if you have one, to use it periodically, once a month, every couple of months. Make a small charge. Doesn't have to be very much. Turn around and pay it in full, just so there's activity being reported. That activity is essential to having scores calculated and to help improve them. But you don't have to carry balance. So yeah, don't carry balance. Like I said, debt's the financial problem. Credit's a financial tool if you use it well. Sindog, thanks for joining. Sai Lavora, thanks for joining. I probably said that wrong. That's what I thought. Hubby thought you do. Thank you. So chalk one up for the ladies, I guess. And it's talking about State of Credit survey that Experian does. If you search Experian State of Credit, you can find more information. But it turns out that women have better credit scores than men on average by about 4 points. So there you go. Men need to step it up a bit. We're lagging behind. Good on you. Yes, I am Leo. Thanks for joining. Welcome, Thugarugi01. I probably didn't say that right. Welcome to Periscope. Again, if you're just jumping in, feel free to ask any questions you have, and I'll do my very best to answer. We, as I said, have our annual State of Credit survey now launched and out. It was really interesting. There are some things that are the same. If you live in the northern part of the country, Your scores tend to be better on average than in the southern part of the country. I live in Texas, so we need to work on that. So I have 2 strikes against me. I live in the South from a credit scoring standpoint, and I'm male, so my scores tend to be lower, and I live in the South. I do have very good credit scores, so I just checked. Mine have trended down a bit over the holidays, which isn't uncommon. And I'm not shy about sharing my scores. I've always said it seems only right that if I'm going to talk to people about things like this, I should have good scores. So my score, FICO 8 score right now is about 813, down from, I was at 850 not long ago, which is not uncommon. I think it's a good thing to understand about scores. They go up and down. So as you use your credit over the holidays, we made some additional charges with the family, used a credit card while we traveled for our safety. So our balances went up. We don't want to risk fraud and ID theft. And so that increase in balance results in a little slide in the scores. They'll move up and down. I got to tell my wife I'm perfect for a couple of days, and then that went away. So it happens. But don't worry too much about the ups and downs. Be consistent in what you do. Pay those bills on time. Keep those balances as low as possible. Pay off the debts as soon as you can, and in full if you can every month. Your scores will be fine, and they'll improve over time. That's the thing to remember. Lamb Jam 961, thanks for joining. Is there a general rule of thumb on how to build credit when no credit is built? So N3WKB, if you're just starting out, you have what we call credit invisible. That means that you need to have a credit account in your name. That's the first thing. So you need to be able to, you need to open an account in order to have a credit report. So you can do that in a number of ways. You can get a secured account. So if you go to your bank or credit union, have a savings account with a credit card tied to it. Use that card, ask that they report it, make sure that they do. If they report the account, it's going to help you establish a credit report and build credit over time. So step one, getting that credit report established, or have someone add you as an authorized user or a joint account holder so that you have an account in your name, so you have a credit history existing. That's step one. Once you have a credit history, there are a number of things you can do. One, make sure you're using the account that you have well, use it wisely. Make a small purchase, pay it full. Keep the balance as low as you can, just like I've said several times already. You can also check out Experian Boost, because today you can add your cell phone payments, your utility payments, your positive payments to your credit report, even your cable television or your satellite TV payments. If you pay them through a checking account or savings account, go to Experian.com/boost. You can give us permission to capture that payment each month and add that to your credit report as an account. It adds that positive payment information. Utilities and cell phone companies in the past did not report positive information. So this is consumer permission based. So you have control of having that information reported. You can tell us to stop if you choose to. What we're seeing is that people who have thin files, like we're talking about, have just started out, or scores lower than 680, are seeing on average score improvement of about 19 points. So pretty significant. Others are seeing on average, if you're above 680 or you don't have a thin file or are more established, we're seeing an average of about 10 to 13 points. And I've heard from people who have scores in the mid 700s who even say they've seen their scores go up 2 or 3 or 4 points. So it can help everybody. What will happen is when you give us permission, we'll go to that account each month, grab that payment, pull it into your credit report. And when you first enroll, we will go back as far as 24 months. So you get 2 years of history right away. So that can help as well. So check out Experian Boost, brand new. It's something that's never been done before. We've been doing it now about 9 months. So really appreciate your feedback and experience there. But we're hearing from people that it's really been positive for them. You've been trying to use Boost for yourself, it still won't add it. Jamie Rio 1, not sure why. You have to pay it through a checking account or savings account. So that would be my first question. Is the bank allowing access? I don't know, but that's good to know. And not sure if who the cell phone provider is. And I can certainly carry that back and ask and see what's going on, because we want to make sure we're able to add them. But if it's paid through a cell phone provider, I had an issue when I first attempted to enroll in Boost that my bank was a small regional bank. Wasn't part of the program yet. So we're adding banks and providers as well. So over time that may be, I'll ask, because I'm not sure why that's my provider as well. So I'll find out and make sure that they're are part of the program and see what's happening there and try to let you know. Remind me if I don't. That may be why. So the Chime account, I'm not sure that Chime is in the system yet, or part of the system for Boost, so that could be the issue. I'm not sure. So I'm taking a guess there, because that's what happened with mine. Until my bank was added, I couldn't couldn't Boost. So we are constantly adding and continuously adding new banks, credit unions and others, to make sure that we can capture that information. If you pay with a credit card, the reason I mentioned that is if you, for example, you pay with a credit card each month, and then pay the credit card with the bank account, we can't capture it. It has to be through a savings account, checking account, what we call a demand deposit account at this time. So sometimes I bumped into that. So that was my first guess. So we do not clone people's identity. So I'm not sure what that's about. Why are your 3 scores on Experian different from my Identity IQ by almost 20 points? So Jamie, real one, probably because they're different scores, and could be for several different reasons. One, if you're getting scores from Experian, you may be you're getting a FICO 8 score, potentially a Vantage score. It could be a FICO 2 score. I'm not sure what scores you're looking at. You could be looking at 3 different scores for different purposes. Auto scores. So that's the first question: is what 3 scores are you looking at, and are they the same scores from your other that are calculated using the other bureaus? So you have Experian, TransUnion, Equifax. You have 3 credit reports. There are lots of different credit scores, and so if the information is different in the reports, which can happen, usually not very significant difference, pretty minor. Usually it's just update information. Maybe they've updated Experian, but not the others yet during the month, for example. That can cause a slight fluctuation. The algorithms that work with our databases can be slightly different to be compatible, and that can introduce a bit of difference with FICO scores, for example. Vantage scores developed so that wasn't the case. If all of the information is exactly the same and they're using the same Vantage score, you should get the same number. But again, if you're looking at scores from 3 different sources and you're looking at Identity IQ, Identity Q, I don't know what score they use, but it's probably a different score. With Experian, see what it is. It's FICO 8 score. If you have our app, you can maybe have in our premium service, you can have 6 or 8 or 10 different scores from FICO that you can see, and they'll all be different. Mine range almost 100 points different from high to low, depending on the scoring model, what we call scoring models, so different scores. So some are for bank cards, some are for auto lending, some are from what we call generic scores for various kinds of lending. And so that can introduce differences in the numbers. They're just different scores for different types of lenders. Credit unions will use different scores than a national bank because their customers and the things that indicate risk are different. The auto lenders use different scores than mortgage lenders because they're trying to evaluate the risk that you'll pay your car loan as opposed to a mortgage loan. So lots of different things. I don't know what reports they're using. So if you have an Experian report, you're looking at your scores from us, and the service you're using gets their reports from Equifax or TransUnion. That could be a result. In reality, that 20 points isn't very much in terms of the score world. Like I said, my score a couple of months ago was close to 850. Now it's down to 813. So I've dropped almost 40 points, but I'll still be able to qualify for credit if I apply because I still have really strong scores. And so look at that. 20 points if you have marginal scores could be a big deal. The real impact, if your scores are strong, maybe don't need to worry about it too much because you'll still be able to qualify. So keep that in mind. And so just as an example, how much does 20 points mean? Just depends on the scoring system, the scale it used, where you are in terms of that scale. So it's not uncommon to see a 20-point difference between different scores either because of the way they measure. So just kind of information, shooting at maybe what might be the issues. Be trying to boost for sell. It's still, yeah. So we talked about that and don't know about why that's not coming in with the T-Mobile Chime issue. I flipped the screen over. Sorry about that. Best way to build credit fresh out of college with no credit history except student loans. Polly, you have a credit history almost certainly. If you have student loans, they'll be reported. If you just graduated, they still may be deferred in 6 months or so. They won't be. They'll be active. So first thing you have to do is pay those student loans on time when they start coming due. Make sure you make those payments on time every time. Really important. From there, talk to your credit union or your bank. Open an account. You'll probably, as a student and a new graduate, get offers to get credit cards, pick one that suits you best. So look for the incentives that you want the most. So whether it's airline miles or savings at a particular store or insurance discounts. I mean, there are lots of things you may get offers for. The best interest rates, look for the best terms you can find. And then once you have that account, make a small purchase, pay it in full every month. The interest rate is not really important if you pay the balance in full, and still you're not paying interest on your purchases. If you don't pay the balance in full, then the interest rate becomes really important because you're paying interest on those charges. So make sure you make a small purchase, pay it every month, make sure it's paid on time, get the best terms you can, find the incentives, use credit to your advantage. Credit's a financial tool if you use it well. So start using credit. 1 or 2 accounts. Make sure you're very disciplined about how you use credit. Before you use your credit card, make sure you know why you're going to use it, when you're going to pay it back, how you're going to pay it back, and most important, if you're using credit, what you need to delay purchasing or give up purchasing until you pay back that debt. That credit's always a trade-off, and that's the thing we forget. It's not free money. It's money you have to pay back, and that means if you have a debt, you need to pay that back before you make another purchase and get deeper into debt. So it's a really deliberate process if you're doing it well. So think about that. Lots to think about, but start small. Time is going to be important. Credit histories, credit scores look at behavior over time. Part of why I have better scores is because of all the gray hair I have, because I've been using credit a long time. So that length of history is important as well. So you'll get there a little at a time, but be patient because it does take time. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. The 3 along top when you open Experian app. Yeah, so you're getting the Experian app. So you're seeing FICO 8 scores and maybe a couple of others. Look at what those 2 scores are, and you'll be able to see which ones. Peaches 72, thanks for joining. Presto 190654, thanks for joining. Experian app must be acting up because it says try again later. Weird. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't looked for a few days myself, so I need to go ahead and check. Mr. Krabs, if I relocate to Canada, will I start fresh or does my USA history follow? You will start all over again. Experian does not have a credit bureau in Canada. TransUnion and Equifax do. But even if you move to a country where Experian had a credit bureau, your US history would not go with you. We do not transfer credit histories from one country to another. You have to start over operating within their credit reporting systems, within their laws. The legal structure, legal requirements for credit reporting, the systems and the way they report in other countries is different from nation to nation. The way they do identification is different from nation to nation. So your credit reports don't move with you. I always share that, our current CEO, when he moved from the UK, from England to the US, he had to start over again. And he runs our North America operation. So his credit reporting didn't go with him either. And so that happens when, my colleagues move from one country to another. And Experian is a global company. We operate in almost 40 countries. We don't have credit bureaus in all of those countries, but we do. And we have, I think we own 3 of the 5 largest credit bureaus, credit reporting agencies in the world. We don't have TransUnion or Equifax in the US, but we have Experian in the US. We have the UK, Experian in the UK, Brazil, Australia, so large credit reporting operations, and none of those move from one country to another. And so for lots of different reasons, but legal reasons, identity matching reasons, all of those sorts of things. The way our systems work, the way scoring works is different from one country to another. So some countries only report negative information. So you don't have a credit report unless you missed payments or had issues with your credit history. That's not the case here, so it doesn't translate. So lots of reasons to make it difficult to. So I'm sorry. Thank you so much for being here. Good to see you. Credit doesn't follow country. It doesn't. It doesn't go from one nation to another. Gregory Giaffis, thanks for joining. Daniel DWI, thanks for being here. And welcome to Periscope. How does one start over moving to Canada? How do you get credit there? So the challenge then becomes, if you are applying, you'll need to open a credit account in Canada. In this case, if you have a multinational bank account. So if you're working with a bank that operates internationally, that can help. They may be able to establish an account in their Canadian operations. I'm trying to some weird light things going on for some reason. But you may be able to open an account, or they may be able to open an account for you at your new Canadian address with their Canadian division. That would help. So that would help establish credit for you for the first time there and establish that credit history. Otherwise, it's kind of the same challenge. You have to start all over again. Open a bank account, open a credit account with that bank potentially, and then build the history from there. So like I said, everywhere's different. Canada, I know a little bit about Canada from years ago. And for example, they prohibit sharing across national boundaries without what they call express permission from the consumer, things like that. So there's some differences in the way it's reported and the way the systems work, the way they match. So really a challenge, and that's the challenge with credit reporting. It's not readily transferable from one country to another. There are services that may provide an international report at your request when you apply for credit, but that doesn't establish a credit history for you in that country. So it's a challenge. What happens if a credit card is closed, but you send the payment instead of to the collection agency? Jawa Rugambian, the bank will take your money. It won't affect your credit history because the collection agency, so they probably won't update the account to show a payment because that account would be reported as probably charged off in the credit report, and then will show transfer sold to collection. Anytime that there's a collection account, an original account's charged off as a loss and sold to a collection agency, the collection agency becomes the legal owner of the debt. Your payment should go to that collection agency, not to the original account holder. So they'll probably take your money, but it won't affect your credit history or show a change in the payment history. How do companies decide how much credit to give a new business? Polly, great question. And it's a bit different than consumer credit reporting, but very similar. A lender will talk to a business owner. You have a prospectus quite often, or a business plan. They'll look at your records depending on how established you are. And what collateral you may have available. It's very similar to consumer lending. They may also look at your business credit report or your business's credit report. So Experian has a business credit reporting division that maintains credit histories for businesses. And so a business lender would look at your business credit report, your business's credit report, and determine whether or not your business is a good risk. And so does your business pay its vendors on time? Does it pay its debts on time? Does it have any outstanding public records? Does it have any public records of violations of any kind? Those sorts of things, very much like a consumer report, to see that you're a reliable, dependable payer and a reliable business and a good risk. And that would play an important part in that decision. So they would then make that loan, we hope, and extend that credit. Mr. Kratz, yeah, so there's no social security number in Canada. That's a great example. There are different identifiers. In the US, a key identifier is a person's social security number. It is the only unique identifier assigned to an individual in most cases. So it's a piece of your identity. We do not just match to the social security number. That's one of the identifiers. We match to your name, your address, your social security number, your date of birth, previous addresses, any name variations. So if your name, and I don't know Robert Smith, but if Robert Smith applied for credit as Robert Smith, but also as Bob Smith, you might see both of those names. So a variation in your name would show on the report. So we match to all of those pieces of information. If one of them is missing, we can still compile a credit report, provide it to you. Social security number included. You don't have to have a social security number to have a credit report in the U.S. It's dependent on the lender opening an account and the identifying information they would provide to us. And we would match to all of the identifying information that we have available. So in Canada, there are social security numbers. Similar to UK, in England, a key identifier is the electoral roll. So people are, I guess, required, or for the most part, sign up for the electoral roll, so as voters. And so that's a reliable identifier. We don't have electoral roll information in the U.S. We don't collect that. We don't have access to it. So not something that we use as an identifier. So it's different. So that's part of that whole conversation about transferring from one country to another as well. It's just a different process. So really kind of interesting. Choosy Beggar, thanks for joining. This last minute. Does credit card companies use the Experian score or the scores on Credit Karma? Actually, they both. The credit card companies get your credit reports from Experian, TransUnion, Equifax. So our credit reports are the information that's used by credit scores to calculate the scores. So FICO, Vantage Score, and some others, banks themselves, create the credit scores that pull in your credit report information to do the calculation. At Experian, with our app, you get a FICO 8 score. With our competitor that you mentioned, I believe they use a Vantage Score 3.0, but it's a Vantage Score, I'm almost certain. Both real scores, both used by lenders, just competitors, kind of like saying Chevrolet and Ford. Two different scoring companies that create systems that analyze the information in your credit report and generate a number that represents the risk of lending to you. So there's two different things that happen. A score is not part of a credit report. They're two separate things. We don't make judgments about the information in your credit report as a credit reporting company. We collect and store the information in a format lenders can then, and other businesses for that matter, but lenders primarily can access to help them make a lending decision. They use scores as a lender to analyze the information in that credit report to determine the risk it represents of doing business with that person. So two different things. It's kind of like a grade on a paper is another way I just kind of describe it. If you do a paper in school, the paper is like the credit report. The teacher is kind of like the lender, and the grade that the teacher assigns is kind of like the credit score. So it just represents the information in the report. Lost my reading by not having a credit card. Is your mortgage payment? I'll bring it up. Yes. Choose your beggar. So if you don't have a credit card, you don't have to have a credit card or credit cards to have good credit scores. It helps to have one or two to build your scores because of the nature of a credit card, what we call revolving accounts, which means you can carry a balance from one month to the next, and you decide how much you're going to charge each month. Are you going to max out the card? Are you going to charge just a little bit? Are you going to pay the balance in full each month? Are you going to pay the minimum due or something in between? So that kind of free will and how you use that available credit gives a bit more insight into how you make independent borrowing and payment decisions. And so it can affect scores a bit more, a little bit. But if you have a mortgage and you're paying that mortgage on time, that's a really good sign that you're probably a good risk as well, especially if you're paying any other debts you have on time and as agreed. You'll still be able to build a strong credit score. If you close your cards and they're reported as closed, usually within a couple of months, you'll see your scores rebound because it's clear you didn't have a card closed because you took on too much debt, or you closed the account yourself and your utilization rate changed. That's generally the issue that causes your scores to dip when you close a revolving account. And when you close that account, your balance to limit ratio increases because you no longer have the available limit for that particular card. So when you close that account, your scores are going to dip a bit. That usually only lasts for a few months, and then it becomes clear you closed a card, you didn't take on a lot of debt. So that's why your utilization rate went up. It wasn't something bad. It was something that reduced your available limit. So it's a math problem, and they'll rebound. So hang in there for that. That usually you see your scores come back after that. But paying your mortgage on time is certainly going to help. Bass Boat 71, thanks for joining. If a creditor is not updating the status of an account, what can you do? One, talk to your lender, call them, ask them why, and check your report. If the information you believe is inaccurate, dispute it with Experian. You go to experian.com/dispute. It's free, doesn't affect scores. Check your most current report. We'll give you a free one when you need to dispute. If you don't already have a current one, we'll just ask for information. We'll provide it for you free. So that would be my recommendation. The thing about credit reporting is if they're reporting, they need to be reporting consistently under our policies and under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. We want regular, consistent updates and accurate information. But they don't have to report if they choose not to. So they don't have to report accounts. Not all lenders do. Most do, but not all of them. Does the letter of indebtedness work? Not sure. I'm smarter than you. I'm not sure what you're referring to with letter of indebtedness in terms of removing information. Wouldn't. If there's a debt on your report, it's reported accurately, it's a legitimate debt, it's going to be in an open or active account or even a closed account or a charged off account. It's within the requirements of the law. It's going to be part of your report. So not sure exactly what you're referring to. There are lots of other things they refer to. There's I think they call a 609 letter doesn't really work. That's reference to part of the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which doesn't really have anything to do with disputes. You can dispute for free. Sending a letter if you disagree with the results of a dispute, absolutely should do that. And we want to tell your perspective and give your side of the story, if you will, with the accounts. But a letter of indebtedness, not sure exactly what you're referencing in that case. TransUnion removed 2 collection accounts. Experian won't remove the same collection. 2414 Bobby. Not sure why. And if you've disputed, again, if you disagree with the results of a dispute, you should request a statement of dispute, and we'll add that statement, and it will explain why. If you have documentation that the collection is not legitimate, you should provide that documentation, and we will send that as part of the dispute. So I'm not sure exactly what the issue is, but it's something the collection agency would have to respond to that dispute, tell us to remove it from the report, in which case, if they told us that, we would. So I'm not sure what's happening there exactly. Does TPD remove your student loans from your reports? I'm not sure TPD is or what you're referring to there. A student loan will stay on your credit report just like any other installment loan. So if it's active, open, and in repayment, it's going to be part of that report, and until it's paid. Once it's paid, it will be updated to show paid, and it will remain 10 years from the paid date, which is a good thing. Shows that you paid it in full. We keep that account information, that positive information, longer than we do negative information. So that's what would happen in that case, and not sure, exactly there or why they would remove it if it's in default. Is it best to pay credit cards in full each month or to keep a 10% utilization on it? Jamie, real one, pay it in full. If you're maintaining a 10% utilization, that means that balance is causing you to pay interest, and that's all it's doing. So you're paying more money to keep that balance. You do not have to carry a balance to improve your credit scores at all. You can pay your balance in full each month. The lower your balances are in your credit cards, the better it is for your scores. Your report's still going to show a balance in most cases. If you use that card, you get the billing statement. Your credit report will typically show the balance that's on that billing statement. So you would still see a balance. So, if you don't pay the balance in full, you're just paying interest on the remaining balance to the credit card provider. So it's just costing you money. It doesn't affect scores positively in any way. The higher your balance is, the more it affects your scores. My scores went down over the holidays because, like I said earlier, I use them more over the holidays, just traveling and things. So when you're traveling, I always try to use a credit card because there's additional protection against fraud, those sorts of things, better carrying cash and that sort of stuff. So use my credit cards, my balances went up, my scores went down a bit. They'll come back up. You pay them in full, but you'll see that balance. It's still better to pay it in full if you can. Total permanent disability. And also, does your credit score increase? Disability isn't reported in that way. So your accounts, if your lender would tell us that they're removing the account or they're closing the account, that may help or may result in removal of the account. That would depend on the lender. There's no indicator in a credit report of medical condition, if you will, so that at all in any way. So there's no medical information in a report. So permanent disability wouldn't, and no income issue information either. So if it's if you're on a disability income program, that wouldn't appear in a credit report either. So it wouldn't necessarily affect the report at all in that way. It'd be up to the lender to tell us, hey, remove the accounts, and then we would. So closed at zero balance. So they should be reported as closed, zero balance, and that's positive. We would keep that in the report for up to 10 years from the close date. But again, because it's positive, it's paid zero balance. If there's no negative information, late payments fall off after 7 years from the date of the late payment. So that would come out, still may see the account with positive information. That's going to be a good thing. Thank you for all the questions. If you're just joining, I haven't told anybody who I am for a while. I'm Rod Griffin. I'm Director of Consumer Education and Advocacy for Experian. This is Credit Chat. I try to be here every Tuesday and Thursday, 1:30 Central, 2:30 Eastern on Periscope. You can join us on Twitter on Wednesdays, 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern. We're going to talk about the importance of treating yourself to make sure you can stick with your resolutions around, particularly around money and personal finance over the course of the year. Because a lot of us make financial goals and set financial goals and resolutions. So it's important to reward yourself along the way so that you stay motivated and continue to work toward those goals. So that'll be a really interesting conversation. My thoughts on Bitcoin. Not many. It's way outside my expertise. I think I don't know. There are lots of issues way beyond my skill set. So I won't comment on cryptocurrency. I think it's really interesting, but beyond that, can't say a whole lot. Don't send anything with your signature. Yeah, that's so they may not be sending documentation. I can't help you with that. That's between you and the collection agency or the creditor. So really interesting questions today. Thanks for being here. Always love having conversations and learning. I'll go back with the questions that we had about Boost and see if I can get some more information. But thank you all for joining and being part of the chat today. Again, I'll be back Thursday, 1:30 Central, 2:30 Eastern. Join us tomorrow on Twitter. You can learn more at ex.pn/creditchat. So tomorrow on Twitter at 2 o'clock Central, 3 Eastern. And we're going to have a great conversation about treating yourself to stay on track with your goals. So, in my opinion, what's the best rewards card? Okay, one more, Hirschberger one. And this sort of tongue in cheek. The best rewards card is the one that's right for you. So there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. So it depends on what you're looking for. Are you looking for interest rates? Are you looking for airline miles? Are you looking for discounts on purchases? Are you looking for insurance deductions? There's so many different rewards cards. Depends on you and looking for the one you think will be best for you. If you go to Experian.com, we actually have a card match service, and we will provide a list of the cards that match what you tell us you're looking for best. So in order of the ones that you say match, in order of what you tell us you're looking for. So, Experian has card match service. Just look up Experian Card Match or go to our app. You can learn more, enroll in our app, and you can learn more too. We'll help you match you to the best credit cards for you. But it really depends on what you're looking for. So, in terms of, again, you can pick one. Could be, are you talking about lowest interest rates available? Are you talking about cards that offer the highest credit limits? Are you talking about cards that offer airline miles, or so many different things that you might use them for. David 413 PW, thanks for joining again. I'm Rod Griffin. I'm Director of Consumer Education and Advocacy. This is Credit Chat, and I'm here 1:30 Central, 2:30 Eastern, Tuesdays and Thursdays. We're on Twitter tomorrow, 2 o'clock Central, 3 Eastern, every Wednesday. You can learn more at ex.pn/creditchat. Thank you all so much for a wonderful conversation, and hope to see you all again soon. Please come with your questions. I'll do my very best to answer. Take care, everybody, and have a wonderful new year. Hope it's going well so far. Take care.